Hey everyone, in today's video we'll be creating painterly impressions in a landscape scene using Luminar NEO and a very simple workflow. We'll be taking this image here and making it look like this. Let's go! Alright, so this is our finished image and this is what it looked like before. I am going to go ahead and take my actions and just erase all of this so we can start from scratch. Okay, so I like to start with the develop tool. So right up here we're going to use the develop, and this is raw as it's a raw image. And I don't need many changes here, but I want to bring down the highlights to just recover some of the sky. So we're just going to quickly go like this, crank that down to see what it looks like, and then just pull it back. Looking at my histogram, my exposure is pretty good. These colors are popping pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the white balance. Maybe the sky tone may be a little off, but I'm not too worried about that. And down here, again, my white balance is good. I'm not worrying about any of this, and I don't really need any color right now. So I'm basically done with the develop tool. That's simple. Even the sharpness at this point, I don't see any reason to sharpen any of this. So we're going to just move on to the enhance. Now, this is a very powerful tool, and quite often it's overused. So you have to be careful using this tool without really just making an unrealistic image. Now, I say that while we're essentially somewhat making an unrealistic image because we're making it more painterly with the end product. But you'll see what I mean in a second here. Now, you have two sliders in here. You have the accent slider and you have the sky enhancer. So you can see just how powerful this one slider is. I mean, you can really push this tool. Now, it renders well for this image, but that is not the case for all images, depending on what you're working on. But I always find a sweet spot that I think is in the general area, and then I always pull back. I'll pull this back down, maybe somewhere around here, and just quickly check and see what we got. Yeah, that already pulled out the sky. So I might not even need the sky enhancer. Again, the sky enhancer you have to be very careful with because that is a very dramatic slider, and you can easily overdo it, and I'll show you what I mean here. Now you can see already that the colors are just really unrealistic now, and this just really oversaturated my sky. So I'm not even sure I need any of this, and the reason I say that is because this is a pretty straightforward composition. There's not an awful lot of depth in it. We do have the foreground area here, which draws you into probably the highlight, which is this middle layer, with all that tension and beauty being right in this area with these evergreens, and then the hardwoods behind it with all that color. How much attention do I really want to put into this sky? That was sort of the idea. I had some clouds, which is always good. I can pop those clouds, put some more contrast in. I can change the tonality of the sky, maybe a little bit more blue, but then I'm drawing attention away from the center of the scene, in my opinion anyway. This is the way I think. Now you can see so far, I've gone from the develop tool to the enhance, and I am now in the erase. Now this tool, this tool is awesome. Now you can see I have dust spots all over the place, right? I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click remove dust spots. And in a matter of moments here, one button, one click, and voila, gone. Moving on. All right, so now this is one of the big tools for painterly impressions. This is Luminar NEO's structure tool. Using the structure tool, we are actually going to decrease the amount of structure, and that is part, if not almost all, of the magic in giving us a painterly impressionistic image. So I'll take the amount and I'll just crank this down to 100 or neg 100 just so we can see what the tool is doing. And right off the bat I can see that my sky is just washed out and really soft and dull and just doesn't look realistic. But I do like what's going on down here. This looks really nice and has that soft golden impressionistic look. Very pretty. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and mask this. I don't want any of this structure tool touching my sky. I want to keep that the way it was before we touch this tool. So we'll go to masking. And we're going to go to the mask AI. And we're going to wait as it computates this image. and we can kind of have a little fun with this. This is really all for your entertainment as you're waiting. Once this is done, if you make any other masking, any other AI masking edits with the rest of your workflow, you will no longer have to wait. It keeps it in cache so that you can just move on. And what we're going to do here is we're going to choose natural ground, which I'm assuming is going to take this foreground layer. Yep. And now we're going to do the flora, which should get my middle layer. Ah, voila. Okay, so already you can see my sky is back to what it originally was, which is exactly what we wanted. And now this structure tool will just affect the two lower layers. So back to adjustments. And now we find our sweet spot where we want this amount. So I'm going to pull this back and see what I like here. Somewhere around here maybe. I am going to pull it back just a little. But this is that soft look I am looking for. And if we zoom in quickly, you can see that we still have plenty of detail. I have done no sharpening to this image. This image still looks good for a painterly look without losing that detail that we would like to obtain if possible. All right, so I'm going to use the boost a little, see what that looks like. And mind you, the boost works relative to which way the slider is. So right now we have the slider to the left in a negative direction for less structure. Now as I crank the boost, it will apply a negative effect, so it would give us even a more soft image. We're going to put a little boost in there and see what it looks like before and after. I mean, it already looks fantastic. It's just these subtle little changes that can make an image without overdoing it. So another tool I like to go to, I'm going to skip some of these. I'm not worried about color in this image. Landscape. Golden hour is usually the slider that I like to play with. Now, if I crank this, you see that it starts to put in almost like a golden hour effect. Now, this is extreme. I'm at 38. But if I bring this down to, say, maybe about somewhere around there, and then we quickly do a before and after, just subtle highlights on these evergreens you can see. Not much at all, just a little. Foliage, watch what happens here. Look at that. I mean, that's just crazy. It's just too much green. So there is an advanced settings. If you want to play with your foliage hue, you can mess around with that, but I don't want any foliage in there. We're done with landscape and we're moving on. All right, so in this particular case, there are two more sliders that I want to play with, and this image is basically done. And those would be the mystical and the matte tool. So we're going to start with matte, and we're just going to slide those sliders and see what we get here. So now in my workflow, I really like to just jam those sliders. I like to crank them because then you get an overview of the image and what effect that slider is having on your image. If you just go in and just slightly, play with the tool, you may not see artifacts or some things that are being affected that you hadn't seen. So by cranking this, you really get a feel for what's going on here. So I'm going to add a little bit of matte in here, not much, just a tad bit. Lastly, mystical. Now this is another go-to tool. Say that fast 3 times. That I really like to explore with. Sometimes it nails it, other times you just stay away from it. This is one of those sliders that I see so many landscapers just use to the extreme. And what happens when you're post-processing is you play with the image and you go back and you return and you're playing more and you're making more and more edits. If you do that with the mystical tool, by the time you're done, the brain loses the process of just how much of this soft glow you put into your image. It's the same thing with like an Orton effect or a Gaussian effect. And you really, at that point, need to step away from your image and maybe take a break, half hour, go get a coffee, do something, come back. And you would probably recognize, whoa, this looks awful. And that's usually the case with a tool like this. So you have to be, again, very, very careful with this tool. And I'll show you why. If I crank this up right now, wow, look at this. That looks so magical. It does look magical. I mean, you want painterly impressions? You have it. That looks beautiful. That in of itself, it can, for the right, it depends on what you're looking for. You can do something with that. But it is extreme. So it's to the artist's discretion, but this is just way overdone for me. And again, it washed out my sky. So what I think I'll do is I'll pull this back and I'll come in somewhere around right here, and let's see what that looks like, and then I'll use my before and after. Yeah, that's not bad. That really brings some softness to the highlights and the grasses and the trees. And let's quickly go to a before and after of the full image. So there we have the image before we began any edits, and now we have an image with all of our edits. So the mystical tool, I don't want that affecting my sky. Again, we're going to do the same thing. Masking, mask AI, and this should be immediate this time. As you can see, it was. We are going to choose the natural ground, and we're going to choose the flora. And that should return our sky to where it was prior to using this effect. And just quickly, and there we go. Okay. And there we have it. I mean, this is before, that's after. So with that said, play with this, give it a shot, see how easy it is to do this. You can do this in Lightroom, Photoshop, but Luminar, it does it so elegantly. And I highly suggest you give this a shot if you're using Luminar. That about wraps this up. Have a great week. Play with this. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts if you've done this, if you like this process, and yeah, and leave your comments below.